Kenny Green, raw perspective, concrete and steel, keeping it good and raw. Unity for the community, always. Unity is important. And, you know, when you watch my videos, I might talk about diamonds one day. I might talk about some political shit. Then I might talk about some celebrity. So you don't know what you're going to get, because a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to say. But it's just being informed and having some dialogue. So, but, you know, I'm hustling too. So hit them subscribes. I appreciate you guys. But I just want to share a conversation that me and my man Bill was having, right? And we was talking about billionaires and should people be allowed to have billions? Part of me, if you hustling and you getting your money and you come up with concepts and ideas that help the people and it turns into billions, then that's what it is. But, you know, we have to look at the influence of billionaires, like what we're seeing now. It doesn't just be the amount of money, it be the influence, the manipulation, and the consolidation of different industries to keep other people's out and to change the narrative on how we live our day to day. There was a video that used rice, for example, to show net worths, like whether it's Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, compared to, say, us, or even like a Bernie Sanders or someone like that. Matter of fact, check this video out.
The scale of $1 billion is really crazy. So let's say 1 grain of rice is equivalent to 100K, and 10 grains of rice would be then $1 million. Well, how much is $1 billion? So my Saturday night consisted of counting 10,000 grains of rice, one by one, just to show you guys how much $1 billion is. Of course I filmed it, and of course I time-lapsed it, and this is playing at, I don't even know, God knows how fast it's playing at, but... So now I'm proud to present to you the results. That is $1 billion, where each grain of rice is worth 100K. Look how much rice this is, guys. That's crazy. I just bought you like a Lamborghini right here, and I didn't even notice it was gone. Here's a $5 million house in California, and oh look, I still have all this money. Well, a lot of you guys asked me, well, how much does Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos have in terms of rice? So that was my mission, and I went to Costco. I got the rice, I brought it home, and once I brought it home, I went to work. I also want to say that I have 5 families that are going to take this unused rice, so it's totally not wasteful. Okay, so the moment you've been waiting for, 100K, 1 million, 1 billion. Jeff Bezos has 122 of these, or 58 pounds of rice. If each grain of rice was 100K. Like, look how big this is, guys. I'm gonna show you the scale here. I'm gonna put a keyboard in just for fun. Look how deep that goes. That's insane. This is Jeff Bezos' new house that's $145 million in LA. And then, oh my God.
That's crazy, right? That's crazy. So you see, we know that money sometimes attracts power, and then it attracts influence, and then it attracts manipulation, and then it starts controlling the markets and deciding what you're going to do and where you need to be and how, you know, can we stay in power and keep them where they're at, meaning the people like us, right? I could dig people getting their money, but maybe billionaires shouldn't be able to influence politics. Maybe they shouldn't be able to monopolize on certain markets. But how do you stop this? Only stop it with law and policy, right? Which we holler at the politicians for that. But if the billionaires are controlling the politicians, then what can you do?
Let me ask you a simple question. How does one person accumulate $1 billion while millions of people working full-time jobs can't afford rent? The answer isn't talent. It isn't hard work. It's a system designed, purchased, and maintained by the very people benefiting from it. Think about political influence. When a billionaire writes a $50 million check to a political campaign, that's not a donation. That's an investment. They're buying access, buying policy, buying the lawmakers who write the rules everyone else has to live by. Your vote and their money are not equal, and they know it. Now look at the economy. Amazon doesn't just sell products. It owns the platform other businesses sell on and competes against them at the same time. Google doesn't just run a search engine. It controls what information billions of people see every day. When one company, controlled by one person, can dominate an entire sector of the economy, that's not capitalism. That's a monarchy with a logo. And then there's the taxes. The average working American pays their share, but billionaires, they borrow against their assets, avoiding income on paper. They park wealth in offshore accounts in shell companies. They hire armies of accountants to find every loophole your senator helped write. They build libraries and foundations, not out of generosity, but to control where their money goes instead of the public treasury. Here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. When wealth concentrates this fast, when one class owns the politicians, the platforms, and pays almost nothing back into the society that made them rich, history has a name for what comes next. Class conflict, social breakdown, and eventually, people in the streets. We're not there yet. But every year we look the other way. Every tax loophole left open, every monopoly left unchecked, every election bought and paid for, we get a little closer. Billionaires don't just represent extreme wealth. They represent the failure of a system that was supposed to work for everyone. And until we're honest about that, nothing changes.
Hey, when I speak about this billionaire conversation, it's not about hating them because they made it to that point with their money. It's about the influences that affect us as everyday people. If they control the media, they control what we watch. They control what we don't see. And there's a lot of things going on right now with this war that we're not privileged to the information, which another time, years ago, things are more transparent. You also have Elon Musk. He just purchased Twitter, right? Obscene amount of money, right? Because he overpaid for it. That's when you have the money, it don't make a difference. He has, the money to where it doesn't make a difference. If he pay 100, 200 million over what his value, who can compete with that? You know what I'm saying? So Pfizer, a lot of these companies control mostly everything. So you can have 6 people, 6 billionaires that's controlling a good portion of the industries that we engage in. So they decide what we do, what we don't do, what we eat, what we don't eat, where we can go, how we're going to get there. And this is a problem. And it's always been a problem. Years ago, they had antitrust laws, right? That if a company got too big, they would break it up. They would have to break up because monopoly wasn't allowed. This Standard Oil, for example, they had to break that up into different companies. That's how you may have gotten the Mobil or Citgo, all of these other gas stations, because it was too big. Now, it's too big to fail. Companies can get big, monopolize on different things, whether it's BlackRock. And if they fall short, the country, the taxpayers, we pay for that. You know what I'm saying? I mention this conversation because it's not a lot of deep thinking that we do when we see things. This is capitalism. So we like to see people get their money and do what they do. But there need to be guidelines and limits to what they can invest in and how much industry they can control. That keeps things a little more balanced because we need a little fairness and some balance, even though capitalism is a rough deal. But we're in it, and more so now than ever, it's affecting us. Just pay attention to what's happening and look at what may happen.